This is El Gore. That's Izzo. And this is episode 20 of This Past Life.
The newspapers call you the goddess of sex. If you are a goddess...
I wrote my show notes on my new typewriter. So forgive me as I refer to them. Normally it's on my computer. But I've discovered two very important things in the past couple of weeks that I wanted to tell you about. And they started with additions to my new vintage life, or my old vintage life, whatever, you know what I mean. And the two additions are fully fashioned vintage dead stock stockings. Contrast seam, they're amazing. And my new Robin's Egg Blue Royal Typewriter, which, as you can tell, I am in love with and not very good at yet. These two additions to my This Past Life have reinforced two ideas, which is one, owning one thing or only having one of things that you use. I'll explain that more. And two, slowing down and thinking when you speak, which, as you can tell, I have a little bit of a problem with. One of the things that I've really fallen in love with when I first started this adventure was using what I need, what I already have, that I didn't need a lot. And when I started doing that back in April, I realized how much I am predisposed to consumption. Not only because I was raised as a middle class American, but also as a woman. And I was raised in a small town where the divide between those that had money and those that did not was very big. And I always found myself kind of envying and coveting the things that my friends and other people who had a lot more resources, the families had a lot more resources, what they had, like new cars and new clothes and trips to places that I thought I would only ever read about in geography class. And truthfully, that's kind of where my love of vintage kind of began, was because I could go to a secondhand store and buy something that I felt represented my personality and made me unique and different and special without spending a lot of money. And that's something that I've kind of rediscovered, or I've become aware of how important that was in my life. I added, as I mentioned before, I just bought a set of fully fashioned lady stockings, a dead stock from mid-century. Seamed, beautiful. Fully fashioned means they're actually shaped to a leg shape instead of just like a stretchy tube, which is what normal stockings are. And when I first started dressing vintagey, I thought I couldn't afford stockings because I was kind of just built into like nice stockings. It's kind of just built into the way I was raised. And so I went down to the sock man, or the sock guy, the sock man, on St. Mark's Place in New York City, and bought a pair of, Cuban heeled seamed stockings that look very much like vintage stockings for about $8. And I would wear them twice and then they'd run and I'd toss them out and I'd figure, well, I can just buy new stockings. Recently I found a pair on eBay, a couple of pairs, and I ended up buying them. They ended up being about a little bit less, probably $6 each with shipping and everything included. And I've worn them every day for about 2 weeks, and they have not run. And I realized that the satisfaction that you get when you have one thing that's really well made, I of course want to immediately go and compulsively buy 1 million of them, but I realized that the things that I need, if I buy something that really suits my needs and my goals and my wants and, whatever, my style, then I only need one. I only need one really good one. And then the second thing is my typewriter, which is amazing and has made me slow down and think about what I'm writing as I'm writing it, and think about spelling and grammar, and just slow down a little bit, which I think when I was going through everything in April and feeling very detached from my relationships in my life, I think part of that detachment was because we all sit in front of these silent machines with working parts that we can't see or hear or feel or smell. And as I sat in front of my typewriter and did my show notes, I had an incredible sense of satisfaction of working on something, of manually making my hands create something, and hearing it and smelling it and being a part of that, the birth of these ideas. Last week's challenge, I get a D-. Now, there are a million reasons and excuses and even why I didn't have up last week's episode. And I'm not going to give you any of them. I'm going to say that I just did not accomplish the challenge in a way that I would feel I would want somebody else to be honest and say that they accomplished the challenge. So I'm still collecting granny squares to create blankets for people who lost everything in New York and New Jersey. You can still mail those granny squares to This Past Life, P.O. Box 1417, New York, New York 10028. I'm still taking them. I'm still making blankets. But I did not make it out to volunteer, and I regret that. So now on to next week's challenge, or this coming week's challenge. This coming week's challenge is going to be to listen to a radio show, or the radio. Tune into something on the AM radio that is an interview or something you wouldn't normally listen to. Instead, in lieu of watching TV, sitting in front of the TV. Not only because, of course, it's a part of This Past Life, because mid-century, before TVs became a part of everybody's household, the radio, of course, was where people gathered and where families gathered and listened to stories and music. I think that's something that we don't get to do anymore, sit in front of something, listen to something, and let our imaginations take over with other people, and then have, be able to have a discussion about it or whatnot. And I think that there's something kind of tactile about that the passive interaction with TV doesn't have. So that is this week's goal. Listen to a radio show. There are a bunch online. I'll put a link here, I'm sure. In lieu of watching TV. And now on to everybody's favorite game show. What is it? Name that flat silver! You guys are getting very good at this. Last week's answer of Name That Flat Silver was dessert spoon. Good luck on this week. If you want to be featured on the show, you can post a video response on YouTube, as always. We're at YouTube/thispastlife, I think. If not, you can just Google us, or click through if you're on our WordPress site. You can just click through to the YouTube channel. Or you can write me an email at thispastlife@gmail.com, or you can do it the old-fashioned way, which is the way I prefer. Use your typewriter or a pencil. And write to me at This Past Life, P.O. Box 1417, New York, New York 10028. I think that's it. So, I guess for now, this is El Gore. I'll see you another day.